Welcome to the HR Tech Nexus podcast, the go-to resource for small and mid-sized businesses ready to revolutionize recruiting and onboarding. Twice a week, we deliver actionable, budget-friendly tech strategies to help you compete for top talent globally without enterprise-level costs. If you're drowning in manual hiring tasks, battling compliance headaches, or stuck with clunky HR systems, you're in the right place. We break down tools like AI-driven applicant trackers, seamless onboarding platforms, and compliance automation, all scaled for SMEs. Join me as we unpack real-world strategies from HR leaders who've slashed time to hire, boosted retention, and built future-ready teams.
All right, so are you ready to dive into something pretty important today?
I think so.
We're tackling this whole world of digital onboarding.
Yeah.
And how it can really impact how you keep your employees around, retention.
Big topic.
Huge.
Yeah.
So to guide us on this deep dive, we've got this super interesting article from HR Tech Nexus.
Okay.
Called How Digital Onboarding Solutions Enhance Employee Retention.
I've heard of them.
If you're into HR tech at all, hrtechnexus.com is like a goldmine of information.
Oh, cool.
But that's just a little aside.
Okay.
But for now, back to this article.
Right.
It's got so many great insights, real-world examples, and things you can actually put into practice.
Love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And one of the most amazing stats right off the bat is that a well-executed onboarding experience can increase new hire retention by like a whopping 82%.
Wow.
That's not just a little boost.
No.
That's a game changer.
It is.
So 82%.
Huge.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So let's break this down.
Okay.
When we say digital onboarding, what are we talking about?
Right.
It's got to be more than just filling out forms online,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Okay.
It's like a complete transformation of how we onboard people, using technology to make it more efficient, make it more engaging.
Yeah.
And dare I say, even fun.
Ooh, fun.
We're talking interactive training modules, personalized welcome messages, streamlined access to information.
Right.
It's all about making that experience positive and productive from day one.
So it's not just about ticking boxes.
No.
It's about creating an experience that actually makes people excited to be there.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
So this article talks a lot about how digital onboarding can create a more consistent experience for new hires. Why is that so important, especially these days?
Well, think about it. In a world where remote work is more and more common, you need a way to make sure that everyone gets the same quality onboarding, no matter where they are or who their manager is.
Right.
Digital onboarding helps with that.
Got it. So no matter who you are or where you are, you're getting that same level of information and support.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But let's get real for a second.
Okay.
We all know that onboarding can be a ton of paperwork and administrative tasks.
So much.
How does digital onboarding tackle all of that?
That's where automation comes in.
Ooh, tell me more.
Digital onboarding platforms can do a lot of the work for you.
Okay.
Like collecting data, processing all that paperwork.
Oh, the paperwork.
Even managing compliance stuff.
Nice.
It frees up HR to focus on, the human side of things, like building relationships and supporting people.
It's like taking the robot out of HR.
Aha.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And letting humans be more human.
More human, exactly.
So speaking of humans,
yes,
this article really emphasizes how digital onboarding can actually make the whole onboarding experience more engaging for new hires.
It can.
How does that work? Well, a big part of it is personalization.
Okay.
Digital tools let companies tailor that whole onboarding process to each person's role and their preferences.
So it's not one size fits all?
No, not at all.
You're recognizing that people come into different needs and expectations?
For sure.
I could see how that would make a big difference in feeling welcome.
Yeah.
And motivated.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the content,
Okay.
Digital onboarding can also make things like virtual meet and greets happen.
Oh, fun.
Or, personalized welcome messages from your team.
Oh.
Even access to mentorship programs, all digitally.
So it's really about building community.
Yes.
From the start.
From day one.
That's awesome.
It is.
Okay, so all of that sounds great.
Yeah.
But I'm curious.
Okay.
What are some real-world examples of companies that are doing this well?
Yeah, there are some good case studies in the article. For example, XYZ Corporation. They used a digital onboarding platform.
Okay.
And they saw a 25% reduction in new hire turnover.
Wow.
In just the first 6 months.
That's amazing.
It is.
So it sounds like they really put thought into making that experience relevant to each person.
They did.
Any other examples?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Globex Enterprises, they integrated gamified onboarding modules.
Ooh, I love gamifications.
Me too.
Fun.
Yeah, and they saw a 40% increase in retention over 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, they really focused on aligning that content with the company culture to make it engaging for everyone.
I'm starting to see how all the pieces fit together here.
Yeah.
But this whole world of digital onboarding, it can feel kind of overwhelming.
I bet.
Especially for companies that are just starting out.
Right.
Where do they go for more information?
Well, this article we're talking about, it comes from hrtechnexus.com.
That's right.
And they have tons of articles and research all about HR technology.
So hrtechnexus.com is the place to be.
It is.
For anyone who wants to stay ahead of the curve in this space.
Totally.
We'll make sure to link to them in the show notes.
Good idea.
But for now, let's dive a little deeper into how to actually do this digital onboarding.
Okay.
What are some of the key steps?
Well, the first step is to take a good look at what you're doing now. You know, your current onboarding process. Figure out what's working, what's not working.
Okay.
Where are the problems?
Right. So it's not about just jumping on the latest tech trend.
Exactly.
It's about finding the right solution for you.
For you.
What else should companies be thinking about as they make this transition?
One thing that's super important is feedback.
Okay.
You need to always be getting input from your new hires.
Yeah.
And then, make changes based on what they tell you.
So it's about creating a loop.
Yes.
And always improving.
Always improving.
So digital onboarding is a journey, not a destination.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah, and don't forget about training your HR team.
Oh, yeah, good point.
On how to actually use the platform.
Right.
They're the ones who are guiding everyone through it.
Yeah.
So they need to be comfortable with the tech.
It's like giving them the tools to be digital onboarding rock stars.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about consistency. We've talked about automation.
Yes.
And we've talked about engagement.
For sure.
But there's a whole other piece to this digital onboarding puzzle.
Okay, I'm listening.
And that is learning.
Learning. Tell me more. And, training is a great way to bring up another big part of digital onboarding.
Okay.
Creating a really smooth and engaging learning experience.
Oh, yeah, totally. We all know those super boring onboarding sessions where you just want to fall asleep.
Right.
How does digital onboarding make things better on that front?
Well, first, digital onboarding lets you create personalized learning paths.
Okay.
So instead of everyone going through the same stuff, new hires can see content that's specific to their role.
Gotcha.
And their skill level.
So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure onboarding experience.
Exactly.
Where you're learning what you actually need to know.
Yes, and it goes even further.
Yeah.
Digital onboarding can take advantage of different learning styles.
I like that.
Some people are visual, some are auditory, some learn best by doing. Digital platforms can handle all those through videos, simulations, quizzes.
Oh, nice.
Even gamified modules.
Oh, I love gamification.
Me too. It makes learning fun.
It does. It's like sneaking in the broccoli with the mac and cheese.
Aha! I like that analogy.
It's not just about the format, though, right?
Right.
It's also about making sure people can actually access it.
Yeah, digital onboarding gives 24/7 access.
That's huge.
So new hires can review things whenever they want.
On their own time.
Exactly.
That's so important for people who are busy.
It gives them the power to learn the way they want.
And speaking of flexibility,
yes,
digital onboarding can help new hires connect with mentors and buddies.
It can.
Which is so important for building community.
Yes, especially in those first few weeks when everything is new.
How does that work in a digital space, though?
Well, some platforms have features built in for mentorship.
Okay.
Where new hires can find more experienced employees.
Cool.
Maybe based on similar interests or skills, or even hobbies.
It's like a virtual buddy system.
Exactly.
I love that.
So you've got learning and mentorship and that sense of belonging.
What else can really make a digital onboarding program stand out?
One thing that often gets missed is storytelling.
Ooh, tell me more.
Instead of just giving facts and figures,
okay,
you can use digital onboarding to share the company's story,
right?
Its values, its vision for the future.
So you're connecting new hires to the company's purpose.
Exactly. It's about giving them a peek behind the scenes.
I like it.
You can use videos, timelines, even testimonials.
Cool.
To bring the company's story to life.
It's like turning onboarding into a mini documentary.
I love that.
Okay, this is all great.
Yeah.
But how does it actually translate into results? Does it really improve employee performance and productivity?
There's definitely a connection when new hires feel like they know what's going on and they feel supported and they feel connected to the company.
Right.
They're more likely to be engaged and do good work.
And digital onboarding can help with all of that.
It can.
But how do you actually measure it?
The age-old question.
Right.
Are there specific metrics companies should be looking at?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, what are some of those key metrics?
Well, one of the most obvious ones is retention rate.
Okay, makes sense.
Are people staying longer if they went through the digital onboarding?
Right, it's about keeping those awesome employees.
Exactly.
But that takes time to see.
It does.
So are there any short-term things to look at?
Yes. You can also look at engagement levels during onboarding.
Oh, interesting.
Are people participating in the training?
Okay.
Are they doing their tasks? Are they asking questions?
So you can get a sense of how enthusiastic they are.
Exactly.
And I bet digital onboarding makes it easier to keep track of that.
Oh, yeah. You can see who's logging in.
Right.
How long they're spending on things. You can even get feedback through surveys.
So much data.
It's a goldmine.
So data is really important for measuring success.
It is, but don't forget about the qualitative side, too.
Okay, what do you mean?
You have to get feedback directly from the new hires.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Ask them about their experience. What was helpful? You could be better.
So it's like getting a temperature check from the people who matter most.
Exactly. And sometimes what we think is great might not actually be working for everyone.
Right. Getting that feedback helps us make sure it's working for everyone.
It does.
And it shows that you care.
Yes, it shows you're invested in their success.
So we've talked about measuring the impact on new hires. But what about the HR team?
Oh, good point.
How do we measure the ROI from their perspective?
One way is to track how long it takes to onboard someone.
Okay.
With automation handling the boring stuff, HR should have a lot more time.
So they can work on more strategic things.
Exactly. Things like building relationships and creating a good company culture.
You can also measure the reduction in errors, right?
Yes. With digital platforms, there's less room for mistakes.
Which makes the whole process more efficient.
And more compliant.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
It is.
Both new hires and the HR team.
A smoother experience all around.
And by looking at these metrics, both the numbers and the feedback companies can make sure they're getting the most out of their investment.
Exactly. It's like having a dashboard.
Ooh, I like that.
And that shows you how everything is working.
But I know some of our listeners might be thinking, this is a lot of information.
It is.
Where can they go to learn more about all this?
Well, I'd recommend hrtechnexus.com again.
Of course.
They have tons of resources on measuring the success of your program.
So it's a one-stop shop for HR tech needs.
You could say that.
We'll link to them in the show notes.
Perfect.
But for now, let's take a minute and think about what we've learned.
Okay.
We've seen how digital onboarding can change the whole employee experience.
Yes, from the boring paperwork to creating a sense of belonging.
We've talked about best practices, data security.
Important.
And feedback.
Always getting feedback.
And we've seen examples of companies doing it really well.
Yes, using it to keep employees longer, make them more engaged, and get them working better.
But before we finish up,
I
want to talk about one more crucial part of digital onboarding.
All right, I'm all ears.
Let's talk about ROI, return on investment. It's great to have all these cool features.
Right.
But at the end of the day, companies want to see results.
Of course they want to see that it's worth it.
Exactly. So how do we measure that success?
It's a good question. And it's not enough to just, implement the platform and hope for the best.
Right.
You need a way to track things.
Okay, so what should companies be paying attention to?
Well, one of the big ones is retention rate.
Okay, that makes sense.
Are people staying with the company longer because of the digital onboard?
Right, it's about keeping those great employees.
Exactly. But like we said before, that takes time to see.
So are there any shorter-term metrics?
You can look at engagement levels during the onboarding itself.
Oh, okay.
Are people participating? Are they completing tasks? Are they asking questions?
So you're looking at how involved they are right from the start.
That's it. And digital onboarding makes it really easy to track all that.
I bet you can see who's logging in, how much time they're spending.
Exactly. And you can even get feedbursts from surveys.
It's like a data treasure trove.
It is, but don't forget about the human side, too.
Oh, right. What do you mean?
You need to talk to the new hires.
Okay.
Ask them what they think, what was helpful, what could be better.
So you're getting a real feel for their experience.
Yes, because sometimes what we think is amazing might not be working for them.
It's true, and those conversations show that you care.
They do. It shows you invested.
So we've talked about the impact on new hires.
Yeah.
But what about the HR team?
Oh, good point. How does this impact them?
How do we measure the ROI from their side of things?
Well, one way is to track how long it takes to onboard someone.
Okay.
With automation taking care of the tedious stuff.
Right.
HR should have a lot more time.
So they could focus on more strategic work.
Exactly. Things like building relationships.
Yeah.
And fostering a positive culture.
And you can also measure the reduction in errors, right?
Yes. Digital platforms help to minimize those mistakes.
Which makes the whole process smoother.
And more compliant.
So it really is a win-win for both the new hires and the HR team.
Everyone benefits.
And by keeping an eye on these metrics, the numbers and the feedback companies can really make sure they're getting the most bang for their buck.
Exactly. It's all about making smart investments.
Yeah. But I know some of our listeners might be thinking, this is a lot to keep track of.
It can be.
Where can they go for more guidance?
HRTechNexus.com is a great resource.
Of course.
They have so much information on measuring the success of your program.
They really do have it all.
They do.
We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes.
Perfect.
So to wrap things up,
yeah,
we've explored how digital onboarding can completely change how you bring new employees on board.
It can make it more efficient, more engaging, and definitely more fun.
We've talked about best practices.
Like choosing the right platform, getting feedback, and keeping things secure.
And we've seen how important it is to measure your success.
So you can prove that it's worth the investment.
Exactly. But as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Think back to your own onboarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
What could have been done differently?
Good question.
What would have made you feel more welcome, more engaged, and more ready to hit the ground running?
Something to think about.
It is, because at the end of the day, it's all about creating a workplace where everyone feels valued.
From day one.
From day one. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into digital onboarding.
It was fun.
Until next time.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us on the HR Tech Nexus podcast. Ready to take action? Head to hrtechnexus.com to access today's episode resources, including actionable guides, real-world case studies, and free tools to streamline your hiring and onboarding. Don't miss our weekly newsletter for bite-sized HR tech hacks, software comparisons, and compliance tips tailored to SMEs. No enterprise-level budgets required. And if you're ready to transform your HR workflows with custom-built solutions, book a free discovery call with our experts. We design strategies that fit your company's size, industry, and global needs. Until next time, innovate boldly, outsmart the status quo, and let's build HR teams that don't just compete, they dominate.